I stood frozen in this bathroom. The two red lines on the pregnancy test were unequivocally clear. This was the fourth time. I should have been leaping for joy. I should have run to my husband's arms to share the news. But no. My hands were trembling, and a knot of vague fear constricted my chest. It was a fear greater than any hope. My name is Nia Bellamy, and I'm 30 years old. Julian and I have been married for 5 years. In those 5 years, we'd achieved everything anyone could want. A luxury condo on the Upper East Side in New York City, 2 cars, stable jobs as department heads at our respective firms. Julian, handsome and polished, was my pride among my friends, the golden son-in-law in my parents' eyes. Only one thing was missing: a child. The 3 previous times, the test had also shown 2 lines as crisp as these. The first time, I cried with happiness. Julian hugged me, kissed my forehead, and promised me a wonderful future. But when I reached 10 weeks of gestation, Julian said he had to take an urgent business trip to Chicago. His mother, Rhonda, immediately moved from her home in Brooklyn to stay with me. I'm here to care for my daughter-in-law, to look after my grandchild, so they grow up healthy. With Jewel gone, I can't rest easy, she'd said. Rhonda looked after me with overwhelming dedication. Every day, she prepared a restorative chicken broth, a soul food remedy, she claimed, using her grandmother's secret recipe. The broths were heavily concentrated, and she always added special herbs with a very distinct smell. Drink this, honey, it's pure gold. It strengthens the womb. These herbs are sent to me from the South. You won't find them just anywhere. I, a daughter-in-law who always wanted to fulfill her role, obediently drank every bowl. I drank until the day I started bleeding. I went to the hospital, and the doctor shook his head. Julian returned late that time. He held me close to comfort me. Don't worry, sweetheart, we're young. Children are a blessing that comes when it's ready. 6 months later, for the second time, I had good news. The script repeated itself. Right at 11 weeks, Julian had to go to Miami. Rhonda came back to the house. This time, besides her broths, she brought fine white powders, which she said were natural calcium from crushed oyster shells, sourced from the coast of Georgia, to ensure the baby was born strong with healthy bones. I lost my child again. This time, when Julian returned, he didn't hug me. He just patted my shoulder. Try to take better care of yourself, Nia. The third time, I was scared. I was already past 30. I went to every specialist, from the private clinics to renowned holistic healers. Everyone said I was perfectly healthy, that my uterus was strong. I clung to that belief. During my 3rd pregnancy, I promised myself I would be extremely careful, but Julian once again had a work trip, and Rhonda reappeared, this time with a slow simmered bone broth made over hours with beef marrow, which she claimed was pure life for the fetus. And the blood reappeared. The 3rd time, as I lay in the hospital bed, pale and empty, Julian stood by the window, staring outside. He didn't say a word, only sighed. That sigh was like a knife in my heart. I didn't feel pain, just exhaustion. His indifference, the fact that he was always absent right when I lost my children, chilled me to the bone. And now it was the 4th time. I looked at the pregnancy test and the tears started to fall. I didn't dare tell anyone. I decided that this time I would keep the secret to myself. I wouldn't tell Julian, and I certainly wouldn't give Rhonda the opportunity to care for me. I quickly wrapped the test in toilet paper and plunged it to the bottom of the wastebasket. I flushed the toilet, washed my face, trying to suppress the nausea rising in my throat. When I stepped out of the bathroom, Julian was on the sofa watching the news. He saw my red eyes and asked, "What's wrong? Are you tired?" I shook my head, forcing a smile. "No, it's just that the smoke from that incense got into my eyes." "Did you eat yet?" "Yeah, I ate already," he replied listlessly, not looking away from the TV. "Oh, Mom just called. She says she's bringing you a special gumbo tomorrow to help you gain strength. You've been looking very pale lately." I went rigid. My heart clenched. "That's not necessary, Julian. I'm busy tomorrow. I have to see some clients." "Stay home," Julian snapped. "Mom is coming to visit." Why had the 3 miscarriages always happened when my husband was away? And why always under the special care of my mother-in-law? The following days, I lived in a state of constant panic. I went to work as usual but tried to avoid my mother-in-law at all costs. Every time she called, I used the excuse of a meeting or a client visit. I knew it wasn't a long-term solution. I went to a gynecological checkup alone. The doctor confirmed I was 6 weeks along, and the embryo was well implanted and healthy. She looked at me with compassion, a woman with a history of 3 consecutive miscarriages. "Nia, you need absolute care this time. Your mood is crucial. Eat well and avoid certain foods." She gave me a long list of recommendations, but my ears were buzzing. I only wanted to ask one question. "Doctor, is there any medicinal herb or food that could cause a miscarriage if consumed continuously?" The doctor adjusted her glasses and looked at me, surprised. "What are you referring to? There are many things to avoid, like parsley in large quantities, or rue. But if done intentionally, there are many plants with potent abortifacient properties. Used in high continuous doses, they're very dangerous for the fetus. But who would do something like that? Why are you asking?" I started, shaking my hand. No, I'm just asking so I know what to avoid. I'm afraid I might eat something by mistake." I left the appointment with a heavy heart. I didn't go straight home. I drove aimlessly through the city. I couldn't stop thinking about those dark, thick broths with their strong herbal smell that Rhonda had made me drink. Once, I thought it was love. Now, I felt only nauseating bitterness in my throat. I couldn't escape that Sunday. Rhonda called Julian, and he told me with a tone of command, "Stay home today. Mom's coming to visit. She says she's prepared your favorite dish." At 10 in the morning, Rhonda arrived, and not empty-handed. She carried a large thermal food container, the one she always used. "Nia, darling, I've prepared you a delicious chicken consommé with egg yolk and a splash of sherry. It's very restorative. Eat it so you can regain your strength and give me a grandchild soon." She served the soup in a bowl with a radiant smile. The familiar herbal smell hit my nose. The pregnancy nausea, mixed with the fear from my memories, made me dizzy. "Thank you, Mom, but I just had breakfast and I'm really full. Leave it there and I'll eat it later." I tried to excuse myself. Rhonda's face darkened. Her smile vanished, replaced by a severe expression. "You have to eat. I spent all morning over the stove for you. You've been eating very little lately. That's why you're so pale and lifeless. You have to feed yourself, nourish yourself so your eggs are good and you can get pregnant." She spoke as if I were a chicken that needed fattening up to lay eggs. I looked at the dark, steaming bowl. My throat was dry. Julian, sitting next to me reading the newspaper, said without looking up, "Eat it. Mom's right. Eat and get strong." My husband's indifference, my mother-in-law's pressure. I felt trapped. I picked up the spoon, trembling. "It's just that I'm on a diet. The doctor says my cholesterol is high, that I should avoid fats and overly rich meals," I invented. "Nonsense," Rhonda snapped. "What do those doctors know? They just know how to scare people. What I'm giving you are natural remedies, the essence of the earth. They can only do you good. Or is it that you won't eat it because you don't like my cooking? Are you disrespecting this old woman?" She started dragging the conversation into the realm of filial piety. It was her usual tactic. In this house, I always had to be the obedient, respectful daughter-in-law. Julian placed great importance on respect for elders. "No, Mom, I wouldn't dare." "Well, if you wouldn't dare, then drink it." She brought the bowl closer to my face. "Take every last drop. I have to see you finish it to feel at peace." I looked at Julian for help. He only frowned. "Eat it and make Mom happy. She only cares about you." There was no escape. I closed my eyes, held my breath, and brought the first spoonful to my mouth. A bitter, nauseating taste. The smell of the herbs was so intense I almost gagged. I swallowed by force, my eyes filled with tears. I didn't know if it was from the nausea, the humiliation, or the fear. Rhonda, sitting opposite me, watched me without blinking. Her gaze was not that of a mother watching her daughter-in-law eat something nutritious, but that of a jailer watching a prisoner. I finished the soup. Rhonda smiled, satisfied. "Good, that's what I like. If you listen to me and eat well, I'm sure we'll have good news soon." As soon as she left, I ran to the bathroom and forced myself to vomit. I brought up everything, even bile. I sat on the cold bathroom floor, hugging my belly and crying silently. I was afraid for this fragile embryo that was just beginning to form. That night, I felt a dull pain in my abdomen, the same familiar pain from the 3 previous times. I panicked again. Luckily, the pain was fleeting and disappeared, but it was a deadly warning. I realized that if I didn't do something, I would lose my child again. The suspicion within me was no longer a seed. It had grown into a gigantic, thorny tree. I couldn't trust anyone, not even Julian. I had to save myself and my child. I couldn't rely on the man I once thought was my world. He had chosen his mother's side, or worse, he was her accomplice. I started taking action. I needed proof. I searched online for hidden cameras. I, a woman who only knew about office work and cooking, was now secretly looking for surveillance equipment. I felt pathetic and ridiculous at the same time. I made up the excuse of a 2-day work trip to D.C. to supervise a new project. In reality, I drove to an electronics store downtown. I told the young sales clerk that I had just hired a housekeeper and wanted to keep an eye on her. I chose 2 tiny cameras, one hidden in a table clock and another disguised in a mobile charger. They connected via Wi-Fi and transmitted the live image to my phone. Holding the 2 cameras in my hand, I felt an enormous weight in my heart. I was doing something I never imagined. Setting a trap for my own mother-in-law in my own house. Back home, I had to wait for the right moment. Where to install them? I decided to put one in the living room, camouflaged on the TV shelf with an angle that covered the sofa and the dining table, the place where Rhonda usually forced me to eat. I placed the other one in our bedroom. I didn't know why, but a gut feeling told me I should do it. The installation was harder than I thought. My hands were trembling so much I almost broke the clock. I had to adjust the angle, hide the wires, and make sure it worked. I did everything in a hurry and with terrible fear, taking advantage of Julian being out playing racquetball with his friends. When I finished, I collapsed onto the bed, breathless. I had turned my home into a trap. From now on, I would live like an actress, alert to every word, every gesture. The following days, I pretended nothing was wrong. I went to work, still looking tired and pale. And then what I expected happened. Julian announced that he had to fly to Atlanta that weekend for a last-minute meeting. "There's a problem with the project there. I'll probably be gone for 3 or 4 days." My heart pounded. Another last-minute trip. Again, at a delicate moment. I was 9 weeks pregnant. I tried to look calm. "Of course, honey. Be careful. Work is important." "Will you be okay alone at home, or should I call Mom to stay with you?" Julian said, his eyes fixed on his laptop. It was the same sentence I had heard the 3 previous times. I shivered. "That's not necessary. I'm a grown-up. It's a bother for Mom to come." "She only cares about you. I'll call her. Stay home and let her cook you something. You've been very thin lately." Julian didn't let me refuse. He picked up the phone and called Rhonda that very instant. "Mom, I'm going to Atlanta this weekend. Would you mind staying at the house with Nia for a few days? I don't feel comfortable if she's alone. Yes, prepare her something nutritious. She hasn't been eating anything lately. Thanks, Mom." He hung up and turned to me. "That's it. Mom is coming this weekend. You stay home and rest." I clutched my cell phone in my jacket pocket. The curtain had risen. But this time, I wouldn't be a mere spectator. I was going to uncover the veil of this mystery. I looked at Julian, the man I had loved for 7 years, and wondered, "Who are you? Are you my husband or my enemy?" I went into the bedroom, locked the door, and opened the camera application. Everything was ready. The secret eye was open. I was waiting to see what form the betrayal would take. Julian left with his suitcase Saturday morning. He gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, a cold kiss full of falsehood. "I'm leaving. Be good and listen to Mom. I'll bring you a gift when I return." I nodded and smiled. My smile must have been stiff and forced. Have a good trip. When he left, the house was filled with a terrifying silence. At 10 o'clock, the doorbell rang. It was Rhonda. She didn't come with her thermal food container, but with a small wheeled suitcase. She intended to stay. "Naya, it's me." She entered the house with a cheerful air. "I waited until Jewel left. Look, I brought you some very nutritious things." She took birds' nests and other expensive products out of her bag. "Thank you, Mom. You didn't have to bother." I played my role as the obedient daughter-in-law. "What bother? All I want is for you to be healthy and give me a grandchild soon." She looked at me with strange intent. "How are you feeling lately? Do you notice anything unusual?" My heart stopped. "No, I'm the same as always. It must be work stress. I'm just a little tired." "Of course, if you're tired, you need to eat well." She rolled up her sleeves. "Tonight, I'll prepare you a lobster bisque. It was brought directly from the market in Maine. You'll see how good it makes you feel." I spent the whole day as if sitting on hot coals. I kept my distance, trying to do everything myself. I watched her through the camera on my phone. She wandered through the house, rearranging things, muttering to herself. That night, Rhonda cooked a delicious-smelling lobster bisque, but I didn't dare try it. I said I felt bloated. I ate a little white rice and locked myself in my room. Rhonda knocked on the door. "What's wrong with you? Aren't you eating the soup? It's wonderful." "I'm very tired, Mom. I want to sleep now. Don't wait up for me," I said from inside. There was a silence. Then I heard a sigh and her footsteps moving away. I opened the living room camera. She was having dinner alone, looking annoyed. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay awake, hugging my flat belly. I was nervous, expectant. I knew she wouldn't give up so easily. Around 11 at night, I heard her bedroom door open. I quickly closed my eyes, pretending to be fast asleep. Very stealthy footsteps headed toward my door. The knob turned. Click. The door was locked. She stood there for a moment, and then the steps moved toward the living room. I immediately opened the living room camera app on my phone. The only light was from a small lamp in the kitchen. And then I saw her. Rhonda wasn't sleeping. She was pacing and stopped next to the bar where the filtered water pitcher, the one I always drank from, was located. My heart was pounding. She looked toward my bedroom, making sure I was asleep. Then she took a small paper packet from the pocket of her robe, identical to the ones in my worst nightmares. Her wrinkled hands struggled to open the packet. Inside was a fine, white powder. With extreme care, she poured the powder into the water pitcher. She even grabbed a long spoon and stirred until it completely dissolved. I gasped, covering my mouth with my hands to stifle a cry of terror. My blood ran cold. It wasn't my imagination. It was real. She, my mother-in-law, was poisoning me. "That's enough for today," she whispered to herself. "In the morning when she's thirsty, she'll have to drink one way or another. Don't worry, this time I doubled the dose. I guarantee it'll be clean like the other times." Clean like the other times. Those words were like 1,000 needles sticking into my brain. The camera's audio picked up the next shocking sound. She was on the phone, her voice low. "Yes, I already put the powder in the water pitcher. This time I doubled the dose. I assure you, it will be clean like the other times." There was a pause. Then she sighed. "Yes, I know, son. I do all this for you. That girl doesn't know how to carry a baby. Having her by your side will only bring ruin to our family. Let's finish this once and for all, and then you divorce her. Sasha, your first love, she's the one who is worthy of being my daughter-in-law. I hear she's still waiting for you." The world crashed down around me. Sasha, Julian's first love, whom I had only vaguely heard about. So that was it. They wanted me to be unable to have children, creating the excuse of infertility so Julian could divorce me and marry his ex. I sat up abruptly in bed. Rage, pain, and repulsion overwhelmed me. I understood everything. The husband I loved, the mother-in-law I respected. They weren't people. They were monsters. They had killed my 3 children, and now they were planning to kill the 4th. I was trembling, not from fear, but from hatred. I quickly pressed the button to save the video. This was the proof. I wouldn't let my children die in vain. I would make them pay for it. I didn't sleep all night. I sat motionless on the bed with the phone clenched in my hand. The screen was off, but the video replayed over and over in my mind. Doctor, is there any medicinal herb or food that could cause a miscarriage if consumed continuously? I wasn't Naya, the submissive wife, the respectful daughter-in-law anymore. I was a mother who had to protect her only surviving child. My tears had turned into sharp steel, ready to pierce anyone who dared to harm my child. I needed more evidence. The video was irrefutable proof, but I needed more. I needed that pitcher of water. I looked at the clock. 3 a.m. Rhonda would be sound asleep. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. I unlocked my door with extreme care. The house was silent. Only the ticking of the wall clock could be heard. I tiptoed to the living room. The street light filtering through the window was enough to see the glass pitcher on the kitchen bar. It looked like a monster waiting to devour me. I went to the kitchen and grabbed a small water bottle I kept in the fridge. My hands were shaking so much I almost dropped it. I emptied the water, trying not to make a sound. Then I returned to the poisoned pitcher. I opened the faucet and filled the bottle with that transparent yet deadly liquid. I tightly closed the cap and wiped away any trace with a paper towel. I hid the bottle in the bottom of my purse, the purse I would take everywhere with me. Having done this, I returned to my room and locked the door. I backed up the video to the cloud and sent a copy to a secret email account. I couldn't risk losing it. Now, I just had to wait for dawn. At 6 a.m, I heard Rhonda get up. I heard her footsteps in the kitchen, the sound of water, and then she knocked on my door. "Nia, get up. Get a little exercise. Drink a glass of water to wake up, and then we'll have breakfast." Her voice, so caring and worried, which yesterday still comforted me, now turned my stomach. I opened the door, pretending to be sleepy with messy hair. "I'm really tired, Mom. I didn't sleep well last night." "Oh, really?" Rhonda examined me. "Well, drink a glass of water to wake up. I prepared you some orange juice, but drink a little water first." She pointed to the poisoned pitcher. She wanted to see me drink. I approached the bar. My heart was pounding out of control. What do? I can't drink. I picked up a glass, brought it to my mouth, but just as it was about to touch my lips, I purposely let it slip from my hand. Crash! The glass shattered on the floor. Water splashed everywhere. "Oh, how clumsy I am!" I exclaimed, feigning regret. "I'm sorry, Mom. My hand was trembling." Rhonda frowned, visibly annoyed. "My goodness, you can't even hold a glass. Well, leave it there. I'll clean it up. Go change and come down for breakfast." Once in the car, I dared to breathe. I drove like a maniac, but not toward the office. I went to a prestigious private analysis lab in the financial district. I handed the bottle to the employee. "I want to analyze the contents of this bottle. I suspect it contains some toxic substance. Do you want us to look for any specific compound?" "I don't know," I said, maintaining my composure. "Anything, especially substances that could cause a miscarriage. Please, I need the results as soon as possible." The employee looked at me with pity, probably thinking it was a case of jealousy, but I didn't care. "I'll pay extra." I hired the fastest service. They promised me the results in 24 hours. When I left the lab, I didn't go home. I went to a quiet coffee shop. I called my boss and requested a week of vacation. "I have a very urgent family matter." I sat there watching the cars go by. I wasn't crying anymore. It was time to plan. Julian said he would be in Atlanta for 4 days. Today was the first. I had 3 days to prepare everything. I would wait for the results. I would wait for him to come back. I would give them a surprise they would never forget. 2 days later, Julian returned. A day earlier than planned. Perhaps he was impatient to know the result. That same morning, I received the call from the lab. The employee's voice was serious. "Mrs. Bellamy, we have the results. In the water sample you brought us, we detected a high concentration of misoprostol." "What is that?" My heart sank. "It's an active ingredient used for gastric ulcers, but it has a very potent side effect. It causes very strong uterine contractions. It is absolutely contraindicated in pregnant women because it almost certainly causes an abortion. The dose in your bottle was very high. Are you all right, Mrs. Bellamy?" I hung up the phone. Misoprostol. They weren't even using herbs. They were using a drug. A cruel, abortive drug. Surely the 3 previous times were the same. They had crushed the pills and mixed them into my soups and my water. My hands were no longer trembling. Rage had overcome all fear. I returned home. Rhonda was surprised to see me, as I had lied to her, saying I was going on a work trip with my boss. "You're back already. Why didn't you let me know?" "I missed my house, so I came back early." I smiled, a smile that even gave me chills. "Mom, tonight I'm going to prepare a special dinner. Jewel is also coming back today. It's been a long time since we all had dinner together." Rhonda seemed satisfied. Perhaps she thought I suspected nothing. That night, Julian returned. He carried a gift bag. "You came back earlier from the trip, honey. I brought you a gift." "Thanks." I took it and left it on the table. Dinner passed in a strange atmosphere. I served Julian and Rhonda. I talked and laughed brightly. "Try this, honey." Rhonda served me a piece of chicken. "Eat a lot to get strong." Of course. I ate. I had to eat. I had to act. After dinner, while the 3 of us were in the living room having tea, I said, "I have something very interesting to show you." "What is it, honey?" "I'm a little tired," Julian said listlessly. "A movie, a very good movie. I promise you won't be tired." I connected my phone to the large television screen. I didn't play a movie. I played the security camera video. The screen lit up, showing the familiar image of the living room, and then Rhonda appeared, sneaking, grabbing the packet of white powder, pouring it into the water pitcher, stirring. "What? What is this?" Rhonda stammered, her face pale as paper. Julian jumped up. "Nia, what the hell are you doing? Turn that off right now." "Why turn it off? The best part is coming now." I pressed play, and the audio of the phone call resonated clearly in the silent room. Rhonda's voice. "This time I doubled the dose. I guarantee it'll be clean like the other times." And then Julian's voice, the voice I once loved. "Okay, Mom, go ahead." "Stop! Stop!" Rhonda screamed, lunging to grab the remote from me. I stepped back. "Stop? Why, Mom? Explain it to me. What does clean like the other times mean? Does it mean the 3 times I lost my children? What was that white powder? The remedy you always gave me?" Rhonda, trembling, pointed her finger at me. "You dare to put a camera on me, you shameless woman? You set a trap for me." "A trap?" I laughed, and the tears streamed down. "You were the one who fell into it. If you hadn't done anything, I wouldn't have anything to record." I turned to Julian. He was paralyzed, with not a drop of blood in his face. "And you? Speak. Explain what, 'Okay, Mom, go ahead,' means. You knew everything, didn't you? You were your mother's accomplice. You killed my 3 children and were trying to kill the 4th. I screamed. I couldn't hold back anymore. "Nia, calm down. It's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding," Julian stammered, trying to approach me. "A misunderstanding?" I threw the lab report in his face. "Read this. Misoprostol, an abortive drug. You've been poisoning me with this. Do you know what you are? You're a murderer." Julian looked at the report and collapsed. He knew he couldn't deny it. Rhonda, seeing it was useless, changed tactics. She knelt on the floor, crying and hugging my legs. "Nia, forgive me. I was confused. I just wanted the best for Jewel. Since I saw that the 3 times you couldn't carry the baby, I thought you couldn't have children. It wasn't my intention." I backed away, looking with disgust at the woman crying at my feet. "You thought I couldn't have children, or did you make sure I couldn't? You wanted me to miscarry so Julian would have an excuse to divorce me and marry Sasha, right? You're cruel. You're not human." "Shut up!" Julian roared suddenly. Fear had turned into anger. "You've said enough. It's true that you can't have children. My mother was just trying to help me. You're useless, a barren tree." He raised his hand to slap me. I didn't move. I looked him straight in the eyes. You dare to hit me? Hit me, kill me, and my child, just like you did with the 3 previous ones. Julian's hand stopped in the air. He didn't dare. The room fell silent, a dense silence, impregnated with crime and lies. Julian lowered his hand, gasping. Rhonda was still on the floor. Her sobs had ceased, replaced by wheezing breaths. I looked at the 2 people in front of me. One was my husband, the other my mother-in-law. Now, to me, they were 2 strangers, 2 demons. Do you think this is all I have? I said calmly. My voice was cold as ice. I took out my phone. I didn't call the police. I knew that with their money and influence, they might get away with it. I called the only person in the world I could trust. Dad? That was all I could say. All my strength, all my steel shell, shattered upon hearing my father's worried voice on the other end. Nia, honey, what's wrong? Your voice sounds strange. I burst into tears. Dad, Mom, come save me. Come save me. They're killing me. They're killing my baby. I don't know how my parents got there. I think my father ran every red light. Less than 45 minutes later, our doorbell rang insistently. It wasn't a chime. It was pounding on the door. I ran to open it. My parents were there. My mother, seeing me disheveled, my face covered in tears, nearly fainted. My father, a retired military man, hardened his face. What happened? He asked with his deep, authoritative voice. He stepped inside, saw Rhonda on the floor, saw Julian pale as death. He saw the lab report on the table and the video, still replaying without sound on the television. Dad, Mom, was all I could say. My mother ran to hug me. My God, my daughter, what have they done to you? My father, calmer, picked up the report. He read it. His whole body trembled with rage. You 2 dare to... He pointed at Julian and Rhonda. Beasts, you have harmed my daughter, my grandchild. Dad, I clutched his arm. The 3 previous times? It was them, too. My mother, hearing that, collapsed in my arms. Mom! Mom! I cried, scared. My father roared. Julian! Call an ambulance, fast! Your wife, your mother-in-law. You've destroyed both of them. Julian called, terrified. Rhonda seemed to react at that moment and crawled toward my father. Father-in-law, I beg you. Shut up, my father yelled. Don't call me father-in-law. From now on, there is nothing between us. What terrible luck for me to be related to people like you. My father helped my mother sit on the sofa. He turned to me. Nia, go up to your room and pack your things. Only the most valuable stuff. Leave the rest. You're coming home with us. Yes. I felt a new strength. Where are you going? Rhonda suddenly got up, blocking my path. She is my son's wife. She's carrying my grandchild. She can't go anywhere. I looked at her. Grandchild? Do you still dare to pronounce that word? You don't deserve it. Nia, don't leave. Julian also tried to stop me. Let's talk things out calmly. If you make this scandal, the neighbors will laugh at us. I let out a bitter laugh. I'd rather be laughed at than stay in this hell for you to kill me. Get out of the way, my father intervened, pushing Julian. He wasn't as tall as him, but the authority of an old soldier made Julian step back. Get out of the way, and don't touch my daughter. We'll see each other in court. I'm going to report both of you. And this video, my daughter is leaving. She has to go to the hospital to be checked. My father took my hand. Come on, honey, grab all the evidence. This television, the cameras. I'll send someone for them later. Let's go. I held tight to my father's hand. I didn't take anything more than my purse, with the bottle of poisoned water and the phone with the video. I walked past Julian, past Rhonda. I didn't look back. When the ambulance arrived, my mother had recovered a little. My father helped both of us into the vehicle. To New York Presbyterian, to check my daughter. Fast. In the ambulance, my mother hugged me, and we both cried inconsolably. My father, sitting beside us, stroked my back. It's all right. We're here, Mom and Dad. You're safe, and your son will be too. I promise you." It was the first time in many days that I didn't feel alone. I had my parents' arms again. I knew that hell was behind me. After a checkup at the hospital, the doctor said that luckily I hadn't drunk the water. The fetus was fine, but I had a slight threat of miscarriage due to the extreme stress. They recommended hospital admission for at least 1 week. My parents didn't let me return to their house. They feared Julian and Rhonda would cause a scandal. My father rented a luxury serviced apartment near the hospital. He said money didn't matter, only our safety did. My mother immediately contacted a prestigious law firm. All the evidence, the video, the lab results, my medical history of the 3 previous miscarriages was handed over. The divorce petition and the criminal complaint for a felony of aggravated assault were immediately drafted. In the following days, Julian harassed me by phone. Messages, calls, sometimes begging. "Nia, please, I'm sorry, come back to me, let's start over." Sometimes threatening. "If you make this public, your son won't be safe. He's my son." I blocked his number, but he used others. One afternoon, while I was on the balcony, an unknown number rang. I was about to hang up, but something prompted me to answer. "Hello? Excuse me, is this Nia?" A soft, clear female voice. I frowned. "Yes, it is. Who is this?" I'm Sasha." That name, the origin of the whole tragedy. My blood boiled. "Why are you calling me? To gloat? To tell me you're about to get what you wanted?" There was silence on the other end. Then she said in a surprised voice, "Gloat? Get what I wanted? Nia, I don't know what you're talking about. Could I see you for 10 minutes? I have something I think you should know. I swear I have no bad intentions." "And why should I believe you?" "Because I'm also a victim." Her voice trembled. "Please, I'll go wherever you are, just 10 minutes. I don't know why, but I accepted. Maybe out of curiosity. Maybe I wanted to see what the woman my husband and mother-in-law were willing to kill for looked like. I gave her the address of the coffee shop below the apartment. I also called my father to be with me. Sasha arrived. She was beautiful, with a delicate and elegant beauty, but her face reflected fatigue and fear, not the triumph of a lover. She sat down and clasped her hands. "Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Nia." My father cleared his throat without answering. I looked at her. "Speak." Sasha took a deep breath. "Nia, it's true that Julian and I were together, but that was many years ago, before he met you. I had no intention of getting back with him." "Then why did his mother, Rhonda—" I interrupted her. "She sought me out a year ago," Sasha said. "She told me Julian wasn't happy. She told me that you couldn't have children. She begged me to go back to him. She said he still loved me." "And you accepted?" I asked with sarcasm. Sasha lowered her head and shook it. "No, I rejected her. I told her I was about to get married." She put a wedding invitation on the table. "I'm getting married soon. I don't want anything to do with Julian." My father and I were stunned. "But Julian, he didn't give up," Sasha continued, wringing her hands. "After Rhonda talked to me, he started texting me. He told me he was sick of you, that he regretted getting married. We had an affair." Another blow. Not only was it Rhonda's plan, but my own husband had been unfaithful. Sasha burst into tears. "I made a mistake. I was weak, but it lasted very little. I realized he was a horrible person, a liar and selfish. I broke up with him completely, but he wouldn't leave me alone. He was constantly harassing me, and Rhonda, she was even worse." "What do you mean?" my father asked. Sasha took a USB drive from her purse. "Rhonda wanted to convince me that Julian would be free soon. She recorded a conversation with him about the plan to make you miscarry. She sent it to me to prove they were serious. I was terrified. I didn't know they would dare to actually do it. I didn't dare tell anyone until today." She pushed the USB toward me. "Today, I read in a digital newspaper about a divorce case where a mother-in-law was accused of poisoning her daughter-in-law. I knew it was you. I couldn't keep quiet any longer. I'm disgusted by them. Look at the USB." "Why are you giving me this?" Sasha looked up, her eyes full of tears. "Because I'm a woman too. I'll be a wife soon, and I hope to be a mother. I can't allow harm to be done to a mother and an innocent child." The trial was held behind closed doors at the request of my lawyer to protect me and the baby growing in my womb. But not even privacy could hide the seriousness of the crime. I entered the courtroom, my belly already prominent under a maternity dress. I was 7 months pregnant. My father led me by the arm. My mother followed closely. Seeing me, Julian, sitting in the defendant's dock, started. Perhaps he hadn't expected me to manage to carry the pregnancy to term. Something shone in his eyes, not joy, but panic. Beside him was Rhonda. She was haggard, aged, her hair completely white. Nothing remained of the imposing matriarch of an affluent family. She kept her head down, her hands clasped and trembling. The trial began. My lawyer, a woman of steel, presented the evidence one by one. First, the hidden camera video. The room fell silent. Only the voices of mother and son could be heard. Rhonda's voice whispering, "This time I doubled the dose. It'll be clean like the other times." Julian's reply, "Okay, Mom, go ahead." The judge, a man my father's age, frowned. Then, the water analysis results. The name, misoprostol, was read loud and clear. My lawyer explained its effects. A drug prohibited for pregnant women, an abortive drug. Rhonda began to cry. "I didn't know. I was confused. I just wanted my son to have descendants. I didn't know it was poison." Julian's lawyer quickly stood up, trying to shift all the blame onto her. My client was totally manipulated. His mother incited him. He thought they were remedies to strengthen the pregnancy. He didn't know about the plot. He is also a victim. A victim? My lawyer smiled disdainfully. She held up the USB drive Sasha had given me. "If he's a victim, then what is this?" The room fell silent again as my lawyer presented the WhatsApp messages between Julian and Sasha. Passionate messages, promises. "Wait a little. My wife is sterile. I'll soon get rid of her." Julian's face lost all color, but the most compelling evidence was the recording Rhonda had sent to Sasha, the recording in which she boasted of their plan, and Julian was fully aware, the irrefutable proof of his complicity. Sasha was called to testify. Calmly, she confirmed everything. She even presented her wedding invitation to the court. "I have no feelings for Mr. Hayes. He and his mother have been harassing me. I provide this evidence out of conscience and because I am outraged by their crime." At that moment, Julian turned to his mother and shouted, "It's your fault! You ruined me! I told you not to do it!" Rhonda, stunned, betrayed by the son for whom she had sacrificed everything, seemed to go mad. "What are you saying? You didn't know? You were the one who pushed me to do it. You kept saying you were sick of Nia, that you wanted to marry Sasha. You told me if I didn't do it, you would leave home, you ungrateful child. I did everything for you." The fight between mother and son exposed all the rot, selfishness, and cruelty of that family. I was called to the stand. I didn't cry. Calmly, I recounted not only the fourth time, but also the 3 previous ones. 3 times of pain, 3 losses. 3 times when my husband was traveling. 3 times when my mother-in-law nourished me. I asked the court to review my medical records from those 3 occasions. All were spontaneous abortions of unknown cause. I didn't ask for anything. I looked directly at the judge. I only ask for justice for my 3 lost children and protection for the one who is about to be born. I ask that those who, in the name of love, became murderers be punished. The trial ended. The sentence was dictated. Rhonda, for a continuous crime of aggravated assault, with the aggravating factor of kinship and abuse of trust, was sentenced to 7 years in prison. She collapsed in the courtroom. Julian, for a crime of concealment and failure to render aid, was sentenced to 2 years in prison with a suspended sentence. In the civil sphere, the court granted the divorce. The fault was attributed entirely to Julian. Not only did I receive my full share of the marital assets, but he was ordered to pay me significant compensation for moral and physical damages, in addition to full child support for our son. His company, after the trial, lost all its contracts. His reputation and career were destroyed. I left the courthouse with my parents on either side. The sun shone brightly. I looked at the sky and took a deep breath. Justice had been done. My 3 lost children could finally rest in peace. 2 months after the trial, I went into labor. It was a night of torrential rain. The first contraction woke me up in the middle of the night. Unlike the 3 previous times, this pain was not accompanied by blood. It was a pain of life, a sign. "Dad, Mom, I think it's coming." The whole house was in a frenzy. My father grabbed the car, my mother the baby's bag. We arrived at the hospital in a downpour. They took me directly to the delivery room. The pain intensified. I was soaked in sweat. I bit my lips, trying not to scream. My mother beside me squeezed my hand. She was crying. "Come on, honey, you can do it." In the midst of the pain, the memories of the 3 miscarriages returned. The physical pain, the despair. I was afraid the tragedy would repeat itself. "Doctor, save my son, please," I pleaded with the physician. The elderly doctor, the same one who had followed my pregnancy, reassured me. "Naya, calm down. All the indicators are good. The baby's heart is beating strong. Listen to me. Breathe deeply. Push, push." I gathered all my strength. I screamed, a cry that tore through the night, that tore through all the pain and humiliation I had endured. And then a sound, the cry of a baby, strong, clear, resonant. I froze. The whole room seemed to stop. I held my breath. "Congratulations, Naya. It's a boy, 7.5 pounds. Beautiful," the nurse said, as she wrapped him in a towel and placed him on my chest, still red and warm. Trembling, I touched his chubby cheek. He stopped crying instantly. His small mouth searched for my breast. I burst into tears, tears of happiness, of rebirth. "My God, my grandson!" My mother knelt by the bed, laughing and crying. "Hello, my love," I whispered to the small creature. "Hello, gift from God." My father, outside the door, that old soldier who had never cried in his life, discreetly wiped away a tear. I named him Justice, but at home we call him Just. My parents call him the treasure of the house. The days that followed were the happiest of my life. My parents' apartment was filled with laughter and Just's babbling. I quit my job. I wanted to dedicate all my time to him. Watching him sleep, I felt that life had rewarded me. The storm had passed. I didn't need anything else. Only Just. He was my light, my hope, my reason for living. My lawyer told me Julian appealed the sentence, but his appeal was dismissed. His company officially went bankrupt. He had to sell the Upper East Side condo to pay his debts and my compensation. Everything he and his mother had tried to protect ultimately turned into smoke. When Just was nearly 6 months old, strong and starting to babble, tragedy struck his family again. I found out that Rhonda had received a partial pardon, not for good behavior, but because she had terminal liver cancer. Her 7-year sentence no longer meant anything. They sent her home to die. My lawyer told me, who also warned me that Julian, after the bankruptcy, had started harassing me again, sending frantic messages, saying Just was his son and he had the right to see him, threatening to kidnap him. My father had to hire security at the entrance of the building. And then, one rainy afternoon, Rhonda showed up. I was cradling, just when my mother rushed into the room. "Nia, she's at the door." My heart sank. I gave Just to my mother. "Take him into the bedroom, lock the door, and don't come out." I took a deep breath and went to the door. I looked through the peephole. It was Rhonda, but unrecognizable. She was in a wheelchair, pushed by a woman. She was skin and bones, her skin yellowed, her head bald from chemotherapy. The disease had consumed her faster than the sentence. I opened the door. "Nia," she whispered in a weak voice. She extended a skeletal hand, full of needle marks. "Nia, please, let me see my grandson." She was crying. "I know I was wrong. I'm already paying for my guilt. I'm dying, Nia. Please, let me see him once. He's my grandson." I stood still, cold. Any glimmer of compassion had died with my other 3 children. Rhonda tried to get up from the chair but couldn't. Just once, and I'll die in peace. The woman accompanying her intervened. Please, ma'am, this woman is very ill. The doctors say she won't last past this week. Grant her last wish. After all, he is her grandson. I looked at her. The pain of my losses returned strongly. The image of her pouring the powder into the water, her voice, clean like the other times. I was also a mother, and precisely because I was a mother, I couldn't forgive. Go away. My voice was quiet, but firm. Rhonda was stunned. Perhaps she hadn't expected such hardness. Nia, you can't forgive me? Forgive? I smiled bitterly. My forgiveness won't bring my 3 dead children back to life. My forgiveness doesn't guarantee the safety of the one I have now. But he's my grandson. He carries my family's blood, she tried to scream. My mother came out of the room. She couldn't bear it anymore. Shut up! You still dare to talk about blood. You yourself cut that bond. You killed your grandchildren. I was confused, Rhonda stammered. I raised my hand to stop my mother. I looked directly at the woman who was once my mother-in-law. Rhonda, listen to me carefully, I said, word for word. My son's name is Justice Bellamy. He carries my last name, Bellamy. He has nothing to do with your family, and he doesn't have a grandmother named Rhonda. His grandmother died the day she poured poison into my water. No, Naya, don't be so cruel. Cruel? I clenched my fists. If I were cruel, I wouldn't be here talking to you. I would have let you die in prison. Go away and never come back. If you reappear, I will call security and the police. Your son's threats, combined with your harassment, are enough for both of you to return to court. Rhonda looked at me, pleading, then despair and finally hatred. She knew I wasn't kidding. I turned around to close the door. Nia, you'll regret this. You've stolen my grandson. I didn't listen anymore. I slammed the door shut. I closed the door on the past. I closed the door on all resentment. Her cries and curses could still be heard, but I didn't care anymore. I leaned against the door, panting. My mother hugged me. You did the right thing, honey. It had to be this way. I ran to my room, just had woken up from the noise, and was about to cry. I picked him up in my arms. It's all right, my love. Mommy is here. I kissed his forehead, which smelled of milk. Mommy will protect you, whatever the cost. I said no, a resounding no, because I knew that my forgiveness and my compassion, if placed in the wrong hands, would be the weapon that would kill my son once more. The past had to remain buried, and I would never allow any demon from the past to touch my angel. One morning, while hanging Just's diapers on the balcony, my father received a call. His face grew serious. He looked at me and said slowly, Nia, Julian Hayes. He committed suicide. He was found this morning in a cheap motel outside the city. The man who was my world, who betrayed me, who was an accomplice in the death of my children, had chosen that end. I felt neither pain nor joy. I felt a void, perhaps a little pity for a coward from beginning to end, cowardly in obeying his mother, cowardly in deceiving his wife, cowardly in fleeing from his responsibility with death. They're asking, my father hesitated, they're asking if you will go to identify the body and handle the funeral. I shook my head instantly. No, Dad, I won't go. I have nothing to do with him. Please tell them to contact any other relative he might have. I don't want to know anything. My father nodded. I understand. I'll take care of it. Life went on. Just's babbling, the smell of milk and diapers filled my days. But a few days later, a police officer came to the house, not to investigate, but to deliver his personal effects. Mr. Hayes's family has no one else. The mother is gravely ill. Only you remain. He placed a small cardboard box on the table. Inside was an old wallet, a cheap cell phone with a broken screen, and a worn notebook. I didn't want to touch it, but after the officer left, something compelled me to open the notebook. It was Julian's diary. He started writing after the trial, crooked handwriting, full of scribbles. The first page read, I've lost everything. Nia won. Mom was right. It's my fault, for being weak, for being greedy. I flipped through the pages. They weren't words of regret for having hurt me, but of self-pity. He complained about losing the company, the house, his honor. He cursed Sasha for having betrayed him. "Women are all vipers," he wrote. I smiled bitterly. Not even at the end did he recognize his mistake. But toward the end, the tone changed. He started writing about the past, about the day he met me, about our wedding. I was wrong from the beginning. Nia was a good wife. She didn't do anything wrong. Why did I listen to my mother? And then he wrote about Just. "I saw her with him in the park today. A chubby boy. He looks like me or her. I wanted to approach, but I didn't dare. Her father's security looked at me as if they wanted to kill me. I'm his father and I can't even get close. I'm a bastard." The last lines, in trembling handwriting, were blurred. "Mom has cancer. I have no money left. I'm full of debts. Why keep living? Nia, I'm sorry. I know saying it 1,000 times is useless. I'm a bad man. I didn't deserve to be a father or a husband. I only wish, if there were another life, to be able to hold my son once. Goodbye." I closed the notebook. A tear escaped. Not for him. I cried for a wasted life. He had everything and destroyed it with his weakness and greed. He chose to obey a sick mother instead of protecting his own family. His death was a liberation for him and for me. It put an end to this story of hatred. I threw the diary into the box with the rest of his things. Tomorrow, I would take everything to be burned so that it would truly end. A month after Julian's death, I received a call from the oncology hospital. "Excuse me, are you Nia, relative of the patient Rhonda Hayes?" I froze. "I am not." The nurse's voice sounded urgent. "The patient is in critical condition. Doctors say she won't last past tonight. She keeps repeating your name. Could you come to see her one last time? She has no one else left." I hung up. I felt overwhelmed. I didn't want to go. Why should I go? That woman ruined my life. My mother, seeing me pensive, asked what was wrong. I told her. My mother sighed. "Karma, honey. Don't go. She'll say something unpleasant, and it will affect you. You have to take care of Just." But I hesitated. "They say she's dying and she's only saying my name." A part of me felt disgust, but another very small part felt something akin to pity. Not for her, but for a human being on the verge of death who was so alone. "I'll go for a moment," I decided. "I'm not going for her. I'm going for me. I want to see the end, to close this door forever, and have no regrets." My mother didn't insist. "Go, but promise me that no matter what happens, you'll stay calm." I arrived at the hospital. The smell of disinfectant, sickness, and death. Rhonda was in a shared room, in an iron bed in a corner. I barely recognized her. She was a skeleton covered in yellowed skin. The vital signs monitor emitted a weak, constant beep. I approached. She seemed to feel my presence and opened her cloudy, lifeless eyes. Recognizing me, a sparkle appeared in them. She tried to move, to speak. "Nia." Her voice was a dry whisper. I stood still. I was very bad, wasn't I, dear? I didn't answer. "Jewel, he's gone." She wept without tears. "It was my fault. I killed my son." She was confessing, not to me, but to herself. "I was obsessed with having a grandson, jealous. Jealous of you, because Jewel loved you and forgot about me. So that was it. Not just the grandson, it was the selfish jealousy of a mother who didn't want to share her son." She started to convulse. A nurse ran to attend to her. Watching her struggle against death, all my hatred vanished. I no longer felt rage, only pity. I leaned down and whispered in her ear, "It's all over now. Go in peace." She looked at me with wide eyes. Perhaps she hadn't expected that. "Go in peace," I repeated. "The debts of this life are settled. Go quietly." I said it, not to forgive her, but to free myself. I didn't want to carry that hatred for another day. I turned to leave. I didn't want to witness the end. Just as I was leaving, the nurse called me. "Mrs. Bellamy, wait!" "No, she won't close her eyes. She keeps whispering." "Grandson, grandson." I stopped. She wanted to see Just. It was impossible. I wouldn't bring my son to that place. But she wouldn't die. She was waiting. I took a deep breath and took out my phone. I made a video call to my mother. "Mom, put Just on." The screen lit up with my son's sleepy face. I returned to the room. Rhonda was gasping, her eyes wide. "Listen." I brought the phone close to her ear. Just at that moment, Just at home babbled, "Mama, Papa." A pure, innocent sound. Rhonda's tense body relaxed. She tilted her head, trying to look at the screen. A tear, a real tear, rolled down her dry cheek. Her mouth moved without sound, but I read her lips. "Grandma." And then she closed her eyes. The hand that was clinging to the sheet relaxed. Beep! The monitor emitted a long, cold beep. She was gone. I turned off the phone and left the hospital. The night wind was icy, but I felt light. I had given her what she yearned for. It was my last act of compassion. From that moment on, I knew that all the resentment had been buried forever. My son's life and mine returned to calm. Just was growing by leaps and bounds. I started looking for a work-from-home job so I could care for him. One morning, I received a package from a law firm I didn't know. Inside was a letter and an old red brocade box. The lawyer explained that he was the executor of the will of Mr. Charles Hayes, Julian's father. I was stunned. I never knew anything about him. The letter explained that Mr. Hayes and Rhonda had separated when Julian was a child. He was a former professor, a good man who couldn't stand Rhonda's character, and left. He never contacted her, but he secretly always paid for Julian's education. He had passed away 2 years ago from an illness. In his will, he left his savings and a gift for my first grandson. I lived alone all my life. My only longing was to hold a grandchild in my arms. Trembling, I opened the box. Inside was a solid gold identification bracelet. Traditional ones, beautifully engraved. The gift a grandfather prepared for the grandson he never met. My heart sank. In that rotten family, there had been one good person. The lawyer wrote that in addition to the bracelet, Mr. Hayes left a savings account with $10,000. $10,000. Since Julian had passed away, Just was the only legal heir. I was pensive. My parents said I should accept it. It was a blessing from his grandfather. I accepted the gold bracelet. It was a memory. But the money. That night, I called the lawyer. "I accept the bracelet on behalf of my son, but the money, please donate it in the name of Mr. Charles Hayes to an orphanage or a children's aid foundation. My son and I will build our own life." The lawyer was silent for a moment. "I understand. I respect your decision, Mrs. Bellamy. You are an admirable woman." I hung up. I looked at the bracelet in my hand and then at my sleeping son. I smiled. I had accepted the only good family bond that remained, but I had rejected any material ties. My son and I would succeed on our own. The past, finally, was closed. Time passed. 3 years. The wounds had healed. Today was a special day. Just was turning 3, and it was his first day of school. I held his hand, excited. He didn't cry. "Mom, the school is really big." I left him in his class. As I was leaving, I lingered for a moment at the door, watching him. "Excuse me, you dropped this." A warm voice beside me. A tall man in a white shirt was picking up my hairscarf from the floor. "Oh, thank you." He looked up and smiled. "Nia, is that you? Nia from the business class?" I froze. That face. You're... I'm Marcus. Marcus Sterling from the law class. 1 year above. Don't you remember? The guy who always sat across from you in the library. Marcus. The guy I had a secret crush on in college. He was still the same, with that warm smile. "My goodness, Marcus, I didn't recognize you. It's been over 10 years. "You haven't changed at all," he smiled. "Are you bringing your son to school too?" I nodded. Yes, my son Just. Today is his first day. And you? His smile was tinged with a slight sadness. I'm bringing my daughter. At that moment, a beautiful doll-like girl ran out. Dad, did you forget my backpack? I'm a single dad, he explained with some embarrassment. My wife passed away 2 years ago in a traffic accident. My heart sank. I'm so sorry. It's all right, and where's your husband? The question, although innocent, stopped me, but I wasn't the same person as before. I'm a single mother, too. I divorced a long time ago. We looked at each other, both surprised. 2 people, 2 broken destinies, reuniting after 10 years at the school gate of their children. It seemed like fate. Are you free for lunch? He suddenly asked. We could grab coffee and catch up. I hesitated for a second, but nodded. That noon, we sat in a coffee shop. We talked about work, about the children. He told me about the difficulty of raising his daughter, Zoe. I only told him, without going into the darkest details, that my divorce was terrible and that I had raised Just alone since he was born. You've been through a lot, Marcus told me, with admiration in his gaze. We found a connection in each other, the harmony of 2 souls that had crossed the storm. The following days we saw each other more often. Every morning at the school gate, the children became inseparable friends. On weekends, he sometimes invited us to the park. The 4 of us, him, me, Just, and Zoe, looked like a real family. Marcus cared for me with a delicacy and sincerity that disarmed me. My parents, initially wary, eventually accepted him. That boy is decent, my father declared. One night as he walked me home, he took my hand. Nia, I know you've suffered a lot. I don't want to pressure you, but I want you to know that I love you. I want your strength, your goodness. I want to be the man who protects you and Just. Would you give me a chance? I looked at him. His eyes were so sincere that my heart melted. I nodded silently. He smiled, and instead of kissing me, he lifted my hand and placed a respectful kiss on it. Thank you. I knew that true happiness had been reborn. Our relationship flourished naturally and warmly. Marcus never asked me about my past. He was a wonderful father, not just to Zoe, but also to Just. He taught him how to play soccer. He carried him on his shoulders in the sun. He was the first man to show my son what a father's love was. One day I heard Just and Marcus playing in the living room. After a while, my son asked timidly, Marcus, can I call you Dad? I froze in the kitchen. My heart was pounding. There was silence. And then I heard Marcus's voice, trembling with emotion. Of course you can, son. Say it again so I can hear you. Dad, Just shouted happily. Dad! I'm here, Marcus laughed. Dad's here. I heard them hug. I leaned against the wall and tears ran down my cheeks, tears of pure happiness. My son finally had a father, a real father. I walked out. Marcus held Just in his arms, both with reddened eyes. Zoe applauded beside him. Good, Just has a dad and I have a mom. Marcus pulled me into his embrace. We're a family now, Nia. I nodded, burying my face in his chest. Yes, after everything, I had found my home. Just had a father, Zoe, a mother. 4 broken pieces that together formed the perfect puzzle of a family. A month later, Marcus proposed to me. It was at my parents' house on my father's birthday. He knelt down in front of me. Nia, he said, opening a box with a simple, elegant ring. I don't promise you riches, but I promise with my life that I will love you, Just, and Zoe. I promise you a home full of laughter and peace. Will you marry me? Just, and Zoe shouted, Say yes, Mommy Nia. Laughing through my tears, I extended my hand. Yes, I will. Our wedding was a month later, an intimate celebration in my parents' garden. The real stars were Just and Zoe. Dressed as a page and junior bridesmaid, they were beautiful. My father, in his speech, said with a broken voice, I thought my daughter had suffered too much, but today, seeing her here radiant and happy, I know there is a just God. Thank you, Marcus, for loving her and my grandson. That night, in our new home, a small house with a yard in the suburbs. The children were sleeping soundly. Marcus and I were on the balcony under the moon. He hugged me from behind. "Are you happy?" I leaned my head on his shoulder. "I've never been so happy. Thank you. Thank you for coming and giving us a family." He tightened his embrace. "No, thank you. You just filled the void in my daughter's life and mine." I smiled, looking up at the starry sky. Life never takes everything away from you. The storm had passed. After all the pain, all the loss, I, a good person, had finally found peace. Happiness may arrive late, but it always, always arrives.